I just wanted you all to meet Max. This is Reverend Richard's dog who lives behind us, and we know where he belongs, and he comes over. You gonna come say hi? You gonna come say hi to me? He is, Jermaine says he's a ladies' man. He says that about Walker too. Well, hi. How are you today? How are you today? You wanted to say, oh, you need to be groomed. Yeah, you usually are pretty sharp, but you need to be groomed. Yeah, what are you doing out here? You got pink mouth too. And you know, Chili has already been teaching me about this pink mouth and pink pads. All these little, she also showed me yellow pollen, and she said it's these little things, these things. But these are older, but the newer ones she showed me, and they're all over the place. And she said the newer ones, you see, it's yellow. And I said, oh, okay. I said, you're right. You're right, they are. And so she reminded me that it's the pine tree. She went to the pine cones and she showed me the pine cones. And she reminded me that when a tree is going dormant, it will start producing way more seeds than is necessary, because there's only so many trees that can grow in an area before they'll overtake all of the land space. But it's a preservative, so you can eat some of them, but you can tell that there's a problem with nutrition because there'll be an overabundance and overproduction of seeds to protect that particular plant. And I was like, you're right. And she said those two things are what are contributing to the allergens, because they mix with the chemical sprays. So I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look up with the pink face and the pink pads on, because she's very pink, to see if she is accurate, because that it's not natural to have your skin constantly exposed to allergens. So I'd have to look it up to be sure. But I just thought I would share all of this with you. We're adjusting well. See, there she is, waiting for me to come back inside. So I'm gonna go back inside and love up on her some more. All right, I'm inside now with Chili. You gonna look so they can see you? Say hi. Because I finally got some feedback on my challenging question, which was asking what use would military training of dogs have, or who would be interested in having animals trained at that level. And what folks said was, well, Sean, what about companion animals? And before I answer that question, the first thing that I want to say is that there is a difference between being an activist and being an advocate. You can be an activist without being an advocate, but you cannot be an advocate without being an activist. An activist is someone who is able to influence people to take action on something, but they may not always know exactly what the true problem is to have people act upon, which is where the advocates come in, because the advocates are the people who are going to actually go in and to have the conversation that's needed to be had with whomever it needs to be had with, so that the changes can occur. Now, sometimes activists are also disciplinarians, meaning that on a one-on-one type basis, they're able to hold people accountable. But when you're talking about an issue that affects a large number of people, an activist's role is to educate them that this is going on, and these are the advocates that are working on the issue. So if you have a perspective that you feel like needs to be addressed, then talk to this person, and they will make sure that we're fully educated on what how to address this, or what action needs to be, what action we can take individually in our area or in our group or whatever to get these changes that we want changed, or in our community, to get these changes made. Now, the thing about companion animals is that the first thing that I need for you to do is to think bigger. Look at her. Look at her. That's my girl. Okay. The first thing that I need for you to do is to ask yourself what companionship means, or how is it used as an industry? Because there are lots of different ways people access companions. All right. So I need you to list every possible profession or industry role you can think of, including animals, that would involve having a companion, or having someone who is trained to be a companion for whatever it is that they're going to do. All right. Then I need you to look at those services and ask yourself, why are these services needed? Why would a person need to have brought to them a companion of any kind? Now, in terms of companion animals, especially for the disabled, the blind, sometimes the deaf, people who are amputees and things like that, the reality is that in the state that the world is in today, we do need animals, people who are willing and able to provide the support that they need, because it's still in a toxic state. And regeneration is a thing. There is lots of information on the YouTube channel about regeneration in language and giving scenarios that will be easy to understand. But your body can only adapt or mutate in a toxic environment, and the entire planet is in a toxic environmental state overall. I mean, there are some places that have been able to preserve certain areas, but the reason why those areas have been preserved is because the people who are causing the problem in the first place will target those areas to focus any preservation or prevention efforts on, versus fixing the problem so that everybody can live in paradise. Because there's no reason everyone should not live in a place that you would want to go to on vacation, for example. And, I ask people all the time, why is that? Why do you have to go somewhere else to relax and to, enjoy nature? Why is that an issue? And people they don't think about that. They don't think about those things because they're going about their lives doing their individual role, which also contributes to the whole of the problem. It's always people. So, because there is a productive use for animals that have been compassionately trained to be able to provide specific kinds of assistance for people who need that, the best people to do that are people who have a natural inclination towards those kinds of animals. Everyone will have a natural inclination towards some aspect of nature, of living nature, and it will be protective. That's what extra sensory perception is in reality. It just means that you have a unique sensitivity when something is wrong in a certain aspect of nature that is activated if there's something wrong with it. And you just know, and you can't always explain to people who do not have that sensitivity how you know it's not right, but you just know it's not right. And the dysfunctional and corrupted version of that is something like OCD. People who have obsessive compulsive disorder, it has to be right. Like, I can't function if it's not a certain way. But usually it's not towards what their extrasensory abilities are picking up on, because we're conditioned to ignore it. We're told, there's no way people could live and function in the environment that we're being forced to live in if they did not seek out some means to quell the internal protective instinct for the aspect of nature that you are drawn to. There's no way. So people medicate it, people, will just ignore it. And then there are people like me who just refuse. It's like, this has to be fixed. I'm not going to stop until this is fixed. I'm not going to live like this. I'm just not. So, I will do things to cope, but I'm not going to quell it because I need to keep it in order to continue to advocate in the way that I do. So do that first. Ask yourself, why are companions needed? If there were no companions available, what other options would there be? And before there were companions, is there any other way that people would receive the same kinds of services, and who would provide them? Okay? Okay? She said, yeah. Okay, there's one more thing that I wanted to say relative to healing animal trauma, because we have to appreciate that not only have animals been traumatized, but there are people who have been traumatized with animals and who have a genuine fear of them when they should not. I mean, there are lots of reasons why they had experiences with animals that caused them to now fear them. And the importance in, companion animals being trained by people who have a natural inclination is because there are some animals who will only respond to people who they know understand them. And when Cece first came, she only responded to Deja. She stayed with Deja in her room most of the time. And I was comfortable with that because we were dealing with a lot of other kinds of trauma, and it was helpful to her to have a companion with her while we were dealing with all of that, because we were all trying to recover from everything else that had happened. And Deja has a natural inclination towards the water and water animals. And I'm mentioning that because we do not have it's just a mindset or philosophy in our household. And I won't tolerate conversation like that from anyone who I care about and who cares about me. Because she has been very attached to and is an amazing caregiver for her fish. Because she has a natural inclination for aquatic animals, and especially fish that are sold in pet stores. That's an area of advocacy for her, which helped me to understand how deeply she felt about them. The other thing is that there was a time when we had guinea pigs that I was using for therapeutic support with my autism support group, and one of them died trying to deliver her pups. And when we took her to Banfield at the PetSmart, the person at check-in said to me, well, the exam by itself, just the exam, is $50, and the guinea pigs are only like $35. And I thought I was going to lose my mind in that place. I was like, why the hell do you have this job? So I just wanted to make sure that as you're considering this idea of companionship, that you think about, what your perspective is on the value of nature and other living beings, because that is going to influence how you pursue and then how you perceive and interpret the services that paid companions or trained companions provide. Animals want to dwell with us, and they will be companions voluntarily, just like people will, if other people know how to treat them and respect them, which is what we also expect. So keep that in mind.